Hello friends, my name is Emile and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic. This time take a look at the Nissan Almera VZR N1, catchy name, also known as the Pulsar in some regions. I've been interested to take this car around the track for a while. You see, the Pulsar or Almera, was kind of regarded very similar to the Primera back in its day. This is supposed to be a car which doesn't look like very much, but is actually quite fun to drive, and the N1 is an often forgotten about hot hatch, but apparently this thing was actually pretty decent. Statistically not hugely exciting, front wheel drive, 264 horsepower, 981 kilograms, decent amount of torque. It should be interesting to see how this thing copes with the Motorsports Land track, where it's going to have 6 laps to set the best time it possibly can. Our current leader, Suzuki Cultus Pikes Peak Edition, set a time of a 28.209, which the Almera probably isn't going to get anywhere close to. It'd be interesting to see how this car does compared to cars like the Nissan Primera, though. Because compared to the Primera, this thing actually has kind of similar stats to it. You know, they're both front-wheel drive. The Primera has very slightly more power, but this thing actually weighs a fair bit less than that Primera, so it'll be interesting to see how the two cope. And Nissans have done traditionally pretty well around this course. Cars like the, obviously the aforementioned Primera have done well. 300ZX did fine, and so did the Skyline, but Nissan's sort of smaller cars seem to do pretty well here. 33.286 to begin us off. This car actually feels decent enough to drive, a little bit of understeer, as you'd expect from a front-wheel drive car. Interestingly enough, this is probably one of the only hot hatches you'll actually see that is not turbocharged in this game. This one is, well, quite a lot of them naturally aspirated in the game by default, but this is probably one of the only ones you'll see without the turbo conversion kit, because, yeah, you might be able to turbocharge the M1, I don't think you can, and I've done that silly thing I did in Prelude. Now I'm stuck in the tyre wall. Let's get out the tyre wall. There we go. Alright, let's try this again. Yeah, pretty impressive red line as well, 9,500. Of course, doesn't hold a candle to the mighty Spoon Civic Type R, but, I mean, this is not bouncing everywhere, so I guess there's ups and downs in everything. Yeah, that Spoon had a rather interesting handling. A bit of an interesting handling for me there. I almost turned this thing into the Corvette, bogging it down with the tail slide. Yeah, it does seem to get its arse end out a little bit if you require it, which is interesting in the Almera. It doesn't quite handle as nicely as the Primera GT. You know, that car was really quite phenomenal to drive. This one's not quite as good as I was maybe expecting it to be. It's just sort of okay. It does have a lot of oversteer, which is interesting for a front-wheel drive car. I say a lot. It's not like a ridiculous amount, but it does like to get its arse end out. Admittedly, though, we've seen some cars do very well with that. You know, the Civic VTI, one of the fastest front-wheel drive hatchbacks we've had. In fact, it is the fastest hatchback I believe we've had so far. You know, that did pretty well. With its sort of oversteery handling. Actually made it a bit more chuckable. It feels chuckable, but it doesn't feel quite as confidence inspiring as the Civic did. You know, the Civic you really couldn't play wrong. This genuinely feels like you could actually lose control of it a little bit, which is a little bit of a shame. 32.448 was the last lap time we got. I don't quite know if I'm going to be able to work this thing into the 31s. I'd hope so, but perhaps not quite. Oop, as we slam on the brakes. Oop. Yeah, maybe this isn't going to be quite as quick, which is a little bit of a shame. Like I said, all the ingredients are there for it to be quicker than the Primera, but, you know, the meat and butter of it is, it doesn't handle as well, which is a bit of a shame, really, for the poor Almera, Pulsar, whatever you'd like to call it. As it charges towards the line, yeah, not going to go any quicker. Still decent enough mid-range times, 32.448. You know, it puts it with some of the other mid-range cars, Honda Accord sedan and all the rest of it, but yeah, maybe not quite as good as the mighty Primera was, but there we go. And the fastest lap, a little bit all over the place. You could probably get like a 32.3 out of it, but it honestly doesn't feel like there's really that much more time to come out of it, which is a bit of a shame. Anyways, let's go see what it places on our leaderboard. On to the leaderboard then, and the Almera N1 goes into 41st place with a 32.448. Interestingly enough, just slightly off of the Spoon Civic Type R, the Bounce Mobile. It does beat out the Mercedes-Benz A160, Toyota Altezza, and the Mazda MX-5 VS, however. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Hot Lap Classic. If you have cars you'd like to request for the series, you can do so in the comment section and go into the description for a full request list form. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.